Cameroon is once again at a boiling point. The dust that was expected to settle after the country's October 12th presidential election has instead taken into a haze of uncertainty, fueled by growing popular unrest, conflicting legitimacy claims, and a political climate that appears to be spiraling towards confrontation. The regime of Paul Biya, Africa's second longest serving ruler, is grappling with perhaps its most serious legitimacy crisis in decades. The election, which the government declared as having been free, fair, and transparent, was widely condemned both within and beyond Cameroon's borders as a grand act of political theater, a sham re-election, as one U.S. senator recently put it. While Paul Biya's camp was quick to proclaim yet another landslide victory, the opposition, and indeed much of the population, they believe that the true winner of the October 12th poll was Issa Chioma Bakare, the former minister who broke ranks with the regime and galvanized a popular movement that has shaken the political foundations of La République du Cameroun, Yaoundé in particular. In the aftermath of the disputed elections, ladies and gentlemen, chaos and fear gripped the nation. Protests erupted in several cities, from Douala to Garawa and Maroua, as Issa Chiroma's supporters denounced massive irregularities and called for the annulment of what they describe as an electoral fraud of monumental proportions. Amid the rising tension and reports of targeted arrests of opposition figures, Issa Chiroma was forced to flee Cameroon. I reported this yesterday, of course. He was forced to flee Cameroon, seeking brief refuge across the border in Nigeria. ABS has learned that while in Nigeria, Issa Chiroma's stay was anything but comfortable. Nigerian security forces reportedly intercepted and took him into custody for interrogation. However, upon verifying his identity, political portfolio, and the context of his flight, Nigerian authorities released him to his own freedom. In a remarkable turn of events, ABS can now confirm that Issa Chiroma has returned to Cameroon. He reportedly flew back into the country today aboard a helicopter. The precise location of his landing remains undisclosed, likely for security reasons. But reliable sources have assured that his safety remains intact. Though caution is a prevailing watchword here. It is not lost on observers that Chiroma's reappearance coincides with the end of the 3-day nationwide ghost town that he had called for, a symbolic but powerful act of civil disobedience that brought the country's major cities and economic arteries to a standstill. He is also returning on the eve of Biya swearing in. Shops, banks, and public offices remain shuttered. Transportation has also been paralyzed. The ghost town ended today, but the question on every Cameroonian's lips is, what next? From the information we have gathered, Issa Chiroma is expected to address the nation soon, address Cameroon soon, once his security team gives the go-ahead. He is said to be actually aware of the charged atmosphere in the country and the risks that accompany any public statement at this time. However, those close to him insist that he intends to communicate a clear roadmap for the days ahead. In the meantime, sources within his circle also revealed that his message to the people remains one of resilience. He reportedly emphasized that, and I quote, "The antidote to reclaiming the people's victory lies in their persistence and courage," end of quote. The people, he said, to have told his aides, must not lose faith, for the struggle to restore their stolen mandate is not over, Issa Chioma said. Should the situation require it, another phase of ghost towns could be announced, he emphasized, adding that a growing determination among his supporters to sustain non-violent resistance until justice is achieved. Behind the scenes, Issa Chioma is said to be engaged in intense diplomatic and strategic consultations. ABS has been briefed that over the past few days, he has held consultations with several world leaders, including diplomats, heads of missions, and representatives of international non-profit organizations. These conversations, we are told, have revolved around the crisis of legitimacy in Cameroon, the potential for international mediation, and the need for a peaceful transition that reflects the will of the people. There are strong indications that certain foreign governments are closely monitoring developments and weighing their responses as the crisis deepens. In addition to this external engagement with foreign head of state, Issa Chioma has also met privately with a range of local experts, Cameroonian experts, from political scientists and economists to journalists and technocrats. The objective of these consultations, according to insiders, is to shape a coherent policy, then pick a cabinet of his own and a recovery blueprint that can guide a post-Biya Cameroon. Perhaps the most politically explosive revelation from Chioma's camp is the confirmation that plans are on the way for his own swearing-in ceremony back in Cameroon. The date has not yet been made public, and much will depend, I am told, on the evolving security landscape. But sources insist that the event is no longer a matter of if, but when. This announcement is nothing short of seismic, particularly as Paul Biya is slated to be sworn in for his controversial 8th term on Thursday, that is tomorrow, November 6. The overlapping of these timelines, ladies and gentlemen, sets up a constitutional and political standoff of historic proportions. If Issa Chioma proceeds with his parallel swearing in, Cameroon will enter an unprecedented dual legitimacy crisis. One president backed by the state machinery, and the other backed by the popular will. Such a scenario could push the country into uncharted territory with implications for governance, security, and economic stability. Already, The uncertainty surrounding Bia's re-election, compounded by Issa Chiroma's rising defiance, has sent shockwaves through the country's political establishment. Diplomats stationed in Yaoundé are reportedly advising restraint, fearing that any escalation could ignite fresh waves of unrest across the already fragile regions like Ngaoundé all the way to Marawa and the Amazonian territories. While the atmosphere remains tense, ABS has also learned of underground communications between Issa Chiroma's team and certain circles within the Paul Bia's regime. Though the details of these exchanges remain closely guarded, our sources indicate that Chiroma's position has been unambiguous. His position has been unambiguous. He will settle for nothing less than the mandate of the people. He has reportedly made it clear to interlocutors that the only viable path forward is one that honors the democratic verdict of October 12th as expressed through the ballot box. Anything short of that, Chiroma insists, would amount to the continuation of a dictatorship under a different guise. It is this unyielding stance that has inspired many of his supporters, who view Issa Chiroma not just as a politician, but as the embodiment of a long-suppressed national awakening. This is what is happening in Cameroon. I call it a nation at crossroads. A nation at crossroads. Cameroon's socio-political atmosphere is now heavy with anticipation. The population waits anxiously for Issa Chiroma's next move, even as Bia's regime presses ahead with preparations for tomorrow's swearing-in ceremony in the capital, Yaoundé. Chiroma's return to Cameroon will galvanize the opposition, re-energize civil society, and embolden a population already fatigued by decades of authoritarianism and stagnation. His expected swearing-in, that is Chiroma's own, even if symbolic, could reignite massive protests and potentially usher in new rounds of civil resistance, including further ghost towns and boycotts. Economically, this could prove devastating to the country. The 3-day shutdown already inflicted millions in losses to the commercial sector. If the protests persist or expand, Cameroon's fragile economy, already battered by corruption, unemployment, and investor flight, could plunge deeper into crisis. But for many Cameroonians, the question is no longer about economics. It is about dignity, about justice, and the reclaiming of a stolen future. The people are increasingly ready to endure hardship if it leads to lasting change. Despite the political storm, Issa Chiroma's rhetoric remains strikingly composed, ladies and gentlemen. According to his aides, he has reiterated his desire to see peace restored and the country put back on track under a new vision of inclusive leadership. He reportedly told close collaborators that his ultimate objective is not revenge or division, but national renewal, a return to the ideas of integrity, accountability, and progress. This message resonates with many Cameroonians, especially the youth, who see in Issa Chiroma a chance for generational change. Yet, Yet, it also poses a profound challenge to the Bia's regime, which has long relied on fear, patronage, and military cohesion to maintain its grip on power. This is the unanswered question. This is the unanswered question. As of this writing, several critical questions remain unresolved. Under what circumstances did Issa Chioma return to Cameroon? And who facilitated his entry back into the country? Number two, what role, if any, is Nigeria playing in the evolving crisis? Number three, will Issa Chioma's planned swearing-in take place before or after Bia's own inauguration? Again, that is a question. In number five, and most importantly, how will the Cameroonian military, long seen as Bia's ultimate guarantor, respond if two men claim the presidency simultaneously? These questions underline, ladies and gentlemen, the precariousness of the current moment in La République du Cameroon. The answers, or lack thereof, will determine whether Cameroon steps into a new dawn or sinks deeper into the shadows of uncertainty. The days ahead promise to be defining for Cameroon, whether through peaceful transition or political standoff. The struggle for legitimacy has begun anew, and the people's resilience, as Chioma insists, will be the ultimate antidote